Well, I finally figured out how to get the back gear out. It was real simple. There's these two set screws here. I just loosened those, and then I was able to take a punch, rest it in. There's a center drill hole in the end of the back gear shaft, and I was simply able to knock the shaft straight out with the handle and all. So no taper pins to deal with in this one, unlike the 9-inch South Bend that's got taper pins all over it. So I'm sure I'll run into a taper pin on here eventually, but thankfully that wasn't one of them. So that's done. Pulled all my Babbitt bearings out. Yeah, so there's the shells, and these rest inside this oil trough here. When I first took this apart, it was so dirty and stuff, I thought that the actual Babbitt shell itself had separated from its cast iron housing. Turns out that wasn't the case. And for a moment there, I even thought that I might be able to get away without repouring these, but that ain't gonna work. So we got one of two choices here. We could repour the original Babbitt, or I could try to do some kind of a conversion and use a sealed ball bearing. But you know, that just wouldn't be original, would it? So the plan is that I'm gonna go ahead and repour that Babbitt. Never poured Babbitt before, but I mean to do some eventually on that drill press. I think this is more urgent. Thankfully, this is just a standard 1-inch diameter shaft. I measured it with my calipers and it's dead on 1 inch. So I've got some nice, you know, I could use the shaft itself for the mandrel to pour the Babbitt. I may instead use a different piece of shafting, short piece of shafting, or even a pipe turned down to a slightly undersized diameter so that I could scrape those bearings in to fit. But we'll see how that goes. I've still got to do a little thinking on it and figure out exactly how I want to go about the project. Alright, on to the next clip. Well, I got my back gear cleaned up and put back on. All nice and smooth now. No more paint in places it doesn't belong, like in here. Turns out this is really easy to take apart if you've got, now I don't know about the later ones, but if you're doing an old one like this, and there's no obvious place like on the 9-inch, where you've got, well, they're covered by the gear guards now, but where you've got taper pins you have to remove. You only have to remove the set screws. There's one under here, and there's one under the other side there, and they rest in a little divot, little center drill hole. Okay, so you gotta, when you put this back together, make sure that you get that lined up so that it goes where it's supposed to go and everything's timed right. And yeah, so these are really easy to remove. Pull those two set screws, take a pin punch, put it in there, knock the shaft right out, handling all. This comes out. This piece you see is split, and that one, this is the one that provides your tension. The other one doesn't provide any tension. So you can knock that out real easy too, to get things cleaned up. As you can see as well, I've gone through and cleaned up all the little screws and things that go into the headstock here. So I'm getting ready now to tackle the spindle and get it cleaned up so that I can get it put back on. Also have finish cleaning to do on the side gears and the reversing gear tumbler and all that stuff. It's in that crate down there. And once all that's done, then the headstock, for all intents and purposes, is complete. Still gonna have to come back later and readdress the spindle and remake these bronzes, but as I stated previously, I think that I can get a couple of years more use out of these bronzes. So, on to the next clip. Well, I'm trying to get this gear off of here. That puller there is a piece of crap. I don't think I can get it to work, but there's nothing for the puller to push onto either, so I'm gonna have to turn a piece to fit in here for something for the puller to press on. I'll turn a diameter that'll seat right in here, and that 1 inch, and then a little step, and then I'll go ahead and I'll put a center drill divot so that the puller won't slip around, and I should be able to get that get that gear off of there. So I'm just machining a plug to go ahead and use with that puller and get that gear off. It really is handy to have another couple of lathes, you know. And plus helps me have a little fun and run the little 9-inch South Bend through its paces, because I haven't used it too much yet since I've got it running. It's taking a nice cut. I had to throw it in back gear because I was getting some belt slip, but you know, these pulleys really do need to be polished and re-crowned. I wish these chips were breaking better. I don't know what I don't know what steel this is. So it's just a piece of little random scrap I had laying about. Well, we got our piece machined out, and that's just gonna set in the end of the spindle. Not this spindle, of course. Spindle's too small, but it'll set in the end of the spindle there. And I've got a little center drill hole. There's one on the other side too. I just figure, you know, in order to accept the screw from the puller so that it's not slipping around. That'll give it a nice positive place to pivot on. Unfortunately, the puller that I have, it's a cheap Chinese puller, does not have the clearance that I need to get in there with the claws and grab that gear. So I either have to grind those jaws to get some clearance or get another smaller puller. I'm leaning towards just getting another puller, but anyhow, now we have that one little necessary piece, and I probably could have been a little bit more crude about how I went about that, but yeah, it gave me an excuse to run the little 9-inch lathe for a while and kind of still getting a feel for it, and kind of putting it through its paces and seeing how heavy cuts I can take and things like that. It's working pretty nice, so everything's running nice and smooth. So I'll see you in the next clip. So I was just taking a look up in my ceiling and how I want to mount my line shaft, and now I could run a couple of beams from this beam over to this beam, which ties into this beam as well, which ties into the walls. So I don't really want to put all that weight though, just on those two beams, well, three beams really. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run a couple of 4x4s from the I'm not up on my framing terminology, the shelf here on top of the wall. I'm gonna run them through here, and I'll probably end them right at that beam there, and they'll be bolted in and bolted down, and then I may even add another cross member here, just to make things real rigid, and possibly a couple jacks coming down from the rafters in the ceiling there. So I'm going to kind of play it a little bit by ear and just start out and see how good and rigid everything feels, and if I feel I need to add additional supports, I can always add them. So that's the plan, and I still need to get down to the Home Depot and get some lumber. So see you in the next clip. Okay, so we got a puller. This is our little plug that we've made, and it's going to go in right like that to give the puller a place to press against. Alright. Unfortunately, let's see if I can show you this. We don't have enough clearance to get in there, so what I've decided is it's just a cheapy piece of crap puller. I'm gonna go ahead and just grind the clearance into each one of these jaws, and then I should be able to get in and pull that gear off. And that'll allow me to take the take-up nut off, slide the comb pulley off with its back gear, and I think I'm just gonna leave the bull gear in place for the time being. I don't see any reason to try and get that off of there, and I don't have a press or a puller that's large enough to remove it or put it back on right now. So with the small gear, I can put that back on the same way. If you watch my other videos, the same way I pulled the spindle on this, with a couple of blocks of wood, a piece of pipe, some all thread, a couple of nuts and washers. You've got yourself a gear pusher that will push that gear back on there when I'm done. So, better get to it. Alright, managed to get her apart, and without damaging anything also, which is good. Not that I was thinking I would damage anything. See the clearance I had to grind so that my puller could get in there. This little thing worked beautifully, just as it was intended. Probably about one of the only times I'm ever going to have to use it. So, but it worked anyway. Alright, well now I can go about getting this cleaned up so I can get it put back in the headstock. Okay, so I noticed the video is getting a little bit long. I'm trying to upload these in smaller increments, which I know I've said in a few more videos. I'm actually trying to do it now. So where we're at now is pretty much going to conclude part 3 here. Where's this part 4? I'll have to go back and check on that. But anyways, I've stuck my gear guards on here just so I can kind of get a look at this and see how it's coming together. And it looks pretty good. I'm happy with it, you know. Especially, you know, the little bits, the little screw heads and things, and you know, the fact that everything's clean really does. It makes the machine look a lot better. It'll function a lot better because, you know, when you have dirt in places, it will have a tendency to get washed down and move into places where it doesn't belong. So, you know, a clean machine is a good running machine. So in the next episode, or in the next video here, you'll probably see me when I get that reversing tumbler there. I'm going to get that all cleaned up and mount it back. We'll get the spindle all cleaned up and mount it back. I will go ahead and set the bearing clearances. You're probably going to see the casting for the reversing tumbler, as well as this little handle. We're going to dog those up and come along and polish those out a little bit. Not going for a super high polish. You know, some people do that, and more power to you. Go ahead, do it. I've done it on many different things. Not really machine tool related, but I've done a lot of polishing in the past. Now on these machine tools, I like, it's kind of hard to see in this light, but I kind of like more of a, I'll show you on the Atlas, not Atlas, I'll show you on the little 9-inch over here. I kind of like more of a dull shine, you know, and I think that that looks good. The surface will hold oil, theoretically, so it won't rust for as long, although typically the higher polish you get, the longer lasting it will be. I just don't want to go to all that trouble. But anyhow, so we'll get that probably reassembled by the end of the next part and get some things looking a little shinier. And you know, still got to pull the lead screw back out, drop the apron, pull the saddle off, get it all fully cleaned up. We still got our cross slide compound, cross slide screw, all that good stuff. Got our hangers. Got these bearings that need to be re-poured. So lots of stuff still needs to be done. There's going to be probably quite a few more parts to this series. And that's just, you know, not to mention, you know, the continued line shafting project as well, which is going hand in hand with this. So, if you like these videos, please do like them. If you have something to say or you have any questions, you know where to put them. You know, there's a comment section. Use it. And if you'd like to see more, please do subscribe. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching.